Hello everybody! Welcome to join us for this quick introduction of Twinmotion. Let me introduce myself. My name is Tian Xiao. I'm a Twinmotion Community Manager. Today I'm with my colleague Martin. He's Twinmotion Product Manager.
Hi everyone!
So today we're going to do a short introduction of what is Twinmotion and show you on live all the key features of Twinmotion and of course the new features in the latest update in Twinmotion 2019. So the webinar will be in 3 parts. First of all, I'm going to do a short introduction of what is Twinmotion and tell you some strong points of this software. After that, I will give the word to Martin. He will present to you all the key features in different projects in Twinmotion. And finally, we're going to take enough time to answer all of your questions. So if you have questions, we're not going to handle them during the webinar, during the presentation, sorry. So note it somewhere and we're going to discuss this together at the end. So let's start the presentation. What is Twinmotion? Twinmotion is a real-time visualization software specially designed for architects, designers, and all the professionals of building professionals. When I talk about real-time, I imagine that some of you have already worked with real-time or some not. So I'm going to give you 2 examples to illustrate what real-time means in Twinmotion. First of all, here are 2 images. The image on the left hand is a standard rendering image calculated using the software, ray tracing software. You can see this very high quality rendering, and the rendering time is 47 minutes. The image on the right hand is an image calculated from Twinmotion, and you can see there's a important difference in terms of rendering time, that in Twinmotion, less than 1 second, you can have a rendering image of this quality. And here's another example. On the left hand, you have an image in 2K rendered in 1.5 hours, and on the left hand, you have an image in Twinmotion for 4K rendered in less than 1 second. The difference is not only on the rendering time. The difference is that I not only have this better quality, high quality in the final rendering results, I also working constantly with this quality in real time in the viewport of Twinmotion, which means, for example, when I apply a new material on the table or add some lights near the kitchen, I can see immediately the results right in front of me in real time in Twinmotion. The rendering time, the fast rendering and real time is not one of the only advantages of Twinmotion. Another strong point of Twinmotion is that it is also a software that really easy to learn. Twinmotion has an interface, very friendly, user-friendly interface, very intuitive, with many icons and sliders. We call Twinmotion a plug-and-play software, which means no matter which architects launch Twinmotion, they can already play with it and immediately export some images and videos instead of spending days to learn the software. The last strong point about Twinmotion I'd like to talk about is the simplicity to bring a BIM software, a BIM model from a BIM software to Twinmotion, thanks to a feature we call the add-in. The add-in is a tool that is compatible with ArchiCAD and Revit, that once in the ArchiCAD, in only 1 single click, you can synchronize your BIM model into Twinmotion. And once arrived in Twinmotion, in another 1 single click, you can activate the VR mode and start to immerse yourself into your BIM model. So Twinmotion really simplifies this workflow to bring a BIM model to VR, and all this process takes only 2 clicks. Now I finished my part of presentation. I'm going to give the word to Martin, and he's going to show you in a real project how Twinmotion works.
Thank you, Tianxiao. So let me now switch to Twinmotion. And as you can see, here I am in Twinmotion, everything is animated and I can navigate in my project in real time at this level of quality. So Tianxiao just talked about the synchronization with both ArchiCAD and Revit. And here we are just after the synchronization process. During this synchronization, we do a few things. We first import the geometry of the project, of course, and then we do a few things automatically. For example, in ArchiCAD and Revit, all the trees, all the vegetation is just a basic billboard with the shape of a tree. During this synchronization, we automatically replace all those billboards by Twinmotion 3D animated trees. We do the same for the materials. In ArchiCAD and Revit, materials are just a basic diffuse texture, diffuse low resolution texture usually. And with our add-in, we automatically replace all those basic texture by Twinmotion physically correct material. And it's the same also for the characters and the cars. The terrain that you are seeing here was a topographic survey, a point cloud file that we imported inside Twinmotion, and now it reacts to the different terrain tools we have inside the software. So for example, if I just click on my terrain, at the bottom of the screen I will find two options, Sculpt and Paint. Let's start with the Sculpt. Here we have a few tools, like for example, the first one is the Raise tool. That will really raise the geometry on the surrounding of my project. Then we can switch to the Dig tool that will dig some holes directly on my terrain. Then we can even change the diameter and switch to the Flatten tool that will flatten all this area around my project. So directly inside Twinmotion with this terrain tool, you can model the terrain on the surrounding of your project. As you can see here on the edge, a different texture applies automatically. If I come back on my breadcrumb here and now enter the Paint tool, here I will find different material that I can paint directly on my terrain. Let's start with, for example, selecting this forest ground material, and here I can just paint my forest ground directly on my terrain. Same thing for my grass. Now maybe let's talk about the vegetation. If I want to add some vegetation, I will just open Twinmotion library. It's this left panel over here. By default, Twinmotion contains more than 2000 items. If I want to add one object to my project, like this tree for example, it's just a basic drag and drop from the library to the viewport, as simple as that. Now if I want to add vegetation a bit more quickly, I can enter the Nature tab, Vegetation. Here for example I can select my grass, I can select the diameter of my brush, and I can just paint some grass directly on my terrain. As you can see, this grass here is affected by the wind, same as the leaves on my trees. This is because there is a complete ecosystem present in Twinmotion that reacts to all the different items and furniture which will react to this system. So again, if I come back to my breadcrumb and now enter the Weather tab, here I will find two options. First one is controlling the cloud coverage, while the second one is controlling the seasons. So let me start by dragging this second slider. We'll switch from the summer to autumn. In autumn, the leaves on my tree turn yellow, turn red. Leaves actually start to fall from the trees, as you can see. We even have some leaves here that are sticking to the ground. Now if I switch to my first slider, this one controls the cloud, so I can remove clouds or I can add more. And at some point, cloud will accumulate and it will start to rain, which affects automatically all the material inside my project. Now if I switch back to my second slider, I will now switch from autumn to winter. And in winter, rain turns into snow. All the material gets overlaid by snow. Here the river just froze, and even my tree, like this one here, completely lost his leaves. So we already talked about the synchronization with both ArchiCAD and Revit, but Twinmotion is compatible with most 3D modeling software. We can import FBX, OBJ, C4D, SketchUp, native file format. So with any 3D modeling software, we find a file that we support at the import. We already talked a bit about the vegetation and the terrain, so maybe it's time to create an image. To create an image, I will first come to the Media section, Image. Here I will click on the Create Image button. This will create simply a new image. I can of course adjust the point of view of my image, like getting a bit closer to my river, like this. I can refresh the position of my camera. And now I will just come to the export section, select the image we just created together. I will click on Start Export. I will send this to my desktop. By default, Twinmotion export on a 2K resolution, but you can go up to 8K. And now if I close Twinmotion, here on my desktop I have the image we just created together. Back to Twinmotion, let me quit this media mode. Next thing I want to show you is what we call the beam motion mode. The beam motion mode is also actually a full screen view of the project. In this full screen mode you can enable the physics. So basically here I'm standing on the ground, I am walking at the height of a human being. If I add some stairs, for example, I will be able to climb those stairs and enter my project. It's really a more immersive way that allows you to present the project to your client a bit more immersed into their project. In this full screen mode we still have a few options, like here we can change the time of day. We can also change the months to make sun study. Here we can also enable the drone view, which allows you to take some altitude and fly around the project. So now let's come inside the project. First thing that I want to do is just make a bit more light coming in, so I will come here and change the time of day. When we created Twinmotion, our main goal was really to create a simple software, a plug-and-play solution. So for us, that means design a really easy-to-use interface. So Twinmotion UI is composed of 3 major panels. The first one is the libraries, the left panel over here, which, as I said, contain already thousands of objects. We start with the materials. Here you will find plenty of material that you can easily add to your project. So for example, here if I choose the wood folder, we have hundreds of wood material. If you want to apply a material to your project, it's just a basic drag and drop from the library to the viewport. Once the material is here, we have a few options, like here we can change the scale, we can change the reflection of the material. Let me maybe switch to a concrete floor, like this one here. In this library you will find materials, vegetation, so tree, bush, grass, rocks, furniture for both interior and exterior. You will find light, omnidirectional, spotlight, EOS light. You will find characters, vehicles. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then we also have what we call the user library. The user library allows you to create your own materials, to import your own model and save them directly inside Twinmotion library. So you will have access to them for every future project. You won't need to recreate those materials at each time. You just save them directly in the user library. And here I've just created my own hierarchy with my own items and my own materials directly inside Twinmotion. The second panel, the second most important panel in Twinmotion is this bottom panel over here, is what we call the dock. Here is basically all the options, the tools and the settings. For example, here my polished concrete is still selected, so I have a few options regarding this specific material. First option over here is changing the color, so I can make my material a bit lighter, a bit darker. I can change the reflection of my material or the scale. Finally, the third most important panel is the one on the right. It's called the scene graph, the scene organizer. It's basically a layer system where you have folders that you can turn on and off. It's similar to Photoshop. You just create folder, you organize the project the way you want, but also all the things that you bring with your CAD software, the hierarchy that you bring with the CAD software will also be saved directly here inside the scene organizer. So about 1 month ago we released Twinmotion 2019 V2, a new update which introduced a new partnership with BeamObject. So if you now come to the urban section over here, we have a button, a BeamObject button, which allows you to have access to more than 10,000 BeamObject items. So let me show you how it works. So it's completely free. So here I've just used my Google account to connect to the platform, but you can also use the BeamObject cat account if you have one. And here you have access to thousands and thousands of different Beam objects. Let's say, for example, I want a piece of furniture. Here we have, like you see, there is plenty of different pieces of furniture, plenty of pages. I can, of course, use the search bar here to search a specific item. Let's just, for example, select this one over here. Here, as you can see, there is a couple of information on this specific item. And if I want to use this item on my project, I will just click on Send to Twinmotion User Library. This will download the object, it will add it to my user library, and also here I have the object directly under my mouse, so I can multi-drop this object on my project. Once this object is here, I can start to customize it, so maybe it's a clear wood like this, but I can also, for example, just change a bit the color to make it a bit warmer or a bit darker. Same thing here, I can add some metal on those pieces over here. And this is a Beam object.
T'as pas activé la fenêtre de Beam Object.
Oh, sorry. I see that I forget. I wasn't sharing the exact same. You wasn't seeing the Beam object window, so let me actually start again. Sorry for that. So let me rewind. The Beam object option is over here. Once you click on Beam Object Catalog, here you will find the Beam Object window that now you can see well. So here is all the different Beam objects available from the Beam Object platform. There is plenty of pages, plenty of objects. Like I said, there is actually today more than 15,000 objects, but this library is growing every day. If I want to add an object, we can use the search bar over here. Here I will just enter the furniture folder. I will scroll down, for example, and just select this chair over here. Now if I want to, as you can see here, this chair, there is a couple of information, of Beam information, there is a description. If I want to add this object to my project, I will just click on Send to Twinmotion Library. This will download the object, and it will put the object directly under my mouse, so I can right away add it to my project. Once the object is here, same thing as I did before, we can start to customize, to personalize this object, so I can change the color of my object, for example. And if I open the scene graph, the scene organizer on the right, and if I open this tab over here and switch to the Beam Information tab, here I find the same information that was available in the Beam Object platform. Here I have access to all the Beam information of this Beam object directly inside Twinmotion. Same thing with all the Beam information that you have in Revit and ArchiCAD. All those Beam information will be also listed under this Beam Information tab. So now let me switch to another project actually. This first one was a nature project, some kind of villa hidden in the woods. Now I'm switching to an urban project located in downtown Chicago, just to show a bit how the animation and the bringing life to your project work inside Twinmotion. So as you can see here, it's a pretty large project with a lot of buildings, a lot of people walking, there is some birds flying, we have some car driving over here. So to show you a bit how we created this, I will start to open the scene graph. Here we can use the search bar to search a specific item, but I will use my filter to select all my paths, and I will actually remove all the animation present inside the project. And we will create this together. To add some life in Twinmotion, there is a couple of different ways. First thing, I will open Twinmotion Library, enter the character folder, human, and I can start to simply drag a character from the library to the viewport. Once the character is here, at the bottom of the screen we can change the color of the clothes, we can change the pose, maybe he's in idle state, maybe he's sitting, maybe he's lying, maybe he's even dancing. Once I've chosen a pose, I can even choose from a set of animations, so maybe he's texting, maybe he's phoning. If I want to add characters more quickly, I can come back in my library and now enter the group folder. If I select this group of 3 people, now at each time I will click in the viewport, this will randomize the 3 characters that are added to the project, so you won't see any repetition. Now if I want to add characters even more quickly, I can use the pass system. To do that, I will enter the urban doc pass, character pass. Here I will select my pen to actually start to create some kind of spline. Once I release my tool, character will simply start to walk along my path. And then again at the bottom of the screen I have a few options. I can change the width of the path or the density of people on it. So as you can see, in just a couple of clicks I've created this huge crowd. We use this path system to animate characters, but also bicycle or vehicles. So let me come back to my path, vehicle path. Same thing over here, I will just start to create my spline. Let me actually make sure my path is going in both directions. So I'm doing this a bit quickly, but it's just to give you an idea of how this is working. So now that my path is created, there is some vehicle driving on my roads. I can make my path 3 lane. I can change the density of vehicle or the speed. Yep, not 0. So to finish, with Twinmotion we can create 4 different types of media. Images, we already talked about that. We can create panorama. Panorama is basically a 360 image, a panoramic image of your project that you can chain together with our online platform called TwinLinker. And basically at the end it will just give you a web link that you can share by email. You can send this to your client in just a couple of minutes. And you can open this link on a smartphone or a tablet, so you can share your project, your idea pretty quickly. Then we can create video. If I want to create a video, I just click on create clip. This will create a first keyframe. Then you simply move the camera inside the project. You click on the second plus over here. This will create a second keyframe. And Twinmotion has automatically created the animation between the first keyframe and the last one. Finally, the last media we can export from Twinmotion is what we call the BeamMotion. The BeamMotion is a standalone viewer of the project that doesn't require Twinmotion. It's just a .exe file. You double click on it, it will open your project in the full screen mode we were in just before, where you will give your client just a limited set of options, like just navigating inside the project, but also changing time, changing the weather. Talking about changing time, let's finish by switching to the night in this Chicago project. Here, as you can see, we begin to see the stars, we have the moon. When the suns come down, the light of the vehicle automatically lights up. Same as my urban lighting, same as my light on my building. So this is it for this quick introduction to Twinmotion 2019. We will switch on the background to the Twinmotion 2019 trailer. And now with Tianxiao, we'll switch to the chat panel and start answering all of your questions.
Okay, thank you Martin for this presentation. Now let's pick some questions. Of the first question, can you change the material on a part of an object or a wall?
Not directly inside Twinmotion. So Twinmotion is really only a visualization software. It's not a modeling tool. If you want to apply different material on the same object, you will need to come back to your modeling software, detach the wall you want to apply a different material. Then you just update your model inside Twinmotion and you can apply a different material. Also, something that I didn't mention since the beginning is that Twinmotion was designed to be used at the early step of your design. So you can start to import your project inside Twinmotion. Then in Twinmotion, you set up everything that I did since the beginning. You change the light, change the weather, add some people. then of course you keep working on your model inside your modeling software. And you just update the changes in Twinmotion as you are working on your building. And everything you have set up inside Twinmotion won't be lost. Just the new changes will be updated.
Okay, the next question. Is it possible to import object from ArchiCAD to Twinmotion?
Yes, of course. So with ArchiCAD, as we said at the beginning, we have a direct link with ArchiCAD. So if you download Twinmotion from the Twinmotion website, you actually start to download the product manager. And from this product manager, you can download Twinmotion, but you can also download the add-in to ArchiCAD. The add-in will be directly installed inside the ArchiCAD installation folder. And when you open ArchiCAD, in the upper part of the screen, you will see a new tab, a new Twinmotion tab. And under this tab, there will be a synchronization to Twinmotion button. So you just basically open your project, you click on synchronize, and then the project, the whole project will be imported inside Twinmotion.
Okay, next question. Hoping there will be info about advanced users bringing the project back into Unreal Engine 4 editor for additional custom workflows and improvements.
So yeah, we actually presented this feature last month at the Autodesk University in Las Vegas. We were present on the Unreal Engine booth. So it's a feature we are currently working on. It's planned to be released next year with the next version of Twinmotion. So yeah, Twinmotion has always been designed to be used as a quick prototyping tool, and in the near future you will be able to open this Twinmotion file in Unreal and keep working on your project. And you won't lose anything, you just keep adding more to the project.
Okay, another question. Plugin from Vectorworks, please.
Yeah, actually it's not really a question, but it's something. It's something planned. The add-in, ArchiCAD and Revit add-in was the first one, but it's just the beginning. We have planned to have more add-in in the future, and Vectorworks is definitely something that we will have. So while we are waiting for the next version, the next question to come up, we can also invite you guys to come join us on the various social media we have.
Yes, Twinmotion is quite active on different social medias, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and we recently created a page for Instagram too. So, for example, if you share your renderings on Instagram, don't forget to tag us. So I will be glad to share your work on our official page. And about Facebook, we have a very active user group named Twinmotion User Group. We have 5,000 people there. They exchange ideas, they ask questions, share their renderings. So it's very good ambiance. And so we invite you to join the group. Now let's take some more questions. Can Twinmotion support AR?
Not right now. We are only VR compatible. AR is something we will. It's not something planned for the next version. We already talked about it in the intern in the office, but it's not planned for. It's not planned for now.
Okay, the next question: does the standalone executable support pixel streaming that was released on 4/21? Would like to host one of these in the cloud?
Not right now. Twinmotion is not on the 4/21 right now, and we doesn't support pixel streaming yet, so it might be something in the future. As I said, in the next version of Twinmotion, coming next summer, you will be able to open your Twinmotion file in Unreal. So you will be able to do that in the future and use the pixel streaming directly from Unreal to host something in the cloud.
A new question. My imported ArchiCAD people objects were translated into Twinmotion, but I can't seem to move them. Is there a way to unlock movement?
No, it's not possible. All the objects synchronized with the add-in is blocked because if you start moving object, it breaks the link between ArchiCAD and Twinmotion or Revit and Twinmotion. So if you want to change the position of those objects, you need to change this position in ArchiCAD and update and resynchronize. Or you can simply disable the character inside ArchiCAD and just place character manually directly inside Twinmotion. You don't need to place them actually inside ArchiCAD.
Okay, a question from Andrew. How did you get the background city building to show your Chicago scene?
So most of this building is actually just a basic box with a building texture just applied on the box. Some of those buildings we found them on the former Google Warehouse. Now I think the name is 3D Warehouse website. So we just look at what building was available in the downtown Chicago. We grab a couple of them. We just rework a bit the texture. We apply those texture, and yes, it was just part of the project actually. It's not something directly inside Twinmotion. We just created this. We imported them inside Twinmotion. We set up the material, and that's it.
The next question, how can I separate a texture from a class of texture?
So here I don't understand really the question. What do you mean by how can I separate a texture? So if...
he said more about his question. He said that in Atlantis I could separate textures that was already set in ArchiCAD.
In Atlantis I could separate texture that was already set in ArchiCAD. So in Twinmotion, with this synchronization with ArchiCAD, we automatically replace the basic ArchiCAD texture by our own texture. It's an option that you can disable if you want to keep the ArchiCAD texture. But once imported inside Twinmotion, you can apply whatever material you want. So you can replace any texture by any other texture that you have inside Twinmotion. Not sure if it's what you are asking.
Okay, so we're waiting about 1 or 2 minutes for more questions coming in.
Yeah, we can still wait for a couple of questions to show up.
I'd like to say that Twinmotion have a 20-day free trial version, so don't hesitate to go to twinmotion.com and download a fully functional trial version to test all the functionalities you've just learned about by yourself. A new question from Benjamin. Sorry, it will be a chance to have this webinar available on YouTube for future review?
So the link that you are on here, just save the link and you will be able to rewatch the webinar. So just keep the link, you will be able to watch the webinar from scratch. Even for people that join late, you can just replay the webinar. Once it will be finished, you can replay the webinar since the beginning.
Okay, question from Valencia. Sorry, joining late. Just as we said, that don't worry, use the same link. You can rewatch the webinar from the beginning. Well, your question is, why can't I save a BeamMotion for Mac from my PC?
It's just not compatible.
When you save from your Mac is exact format, and for Mac, when you save from your PC is exact format, and on Mac is just another format. So yeah, if you want to have a Mac BeamMotion, you need to export it from a Mac. It's just that the Windows and Mac is just two worlds and they never work together. So we didn't find a way to overcome this problem. Next question: when placing a light in space, is there a way to specify its height numerically instead of virtually?
So yes, let me switch back to Twinmotion. I will share my screen, so now you should be able to see my screen. So when you are placing an object from the library, it can be a light, it can be whatever you want. If you come to the right panel and under the beam information, if you switch to transform, here you have the precise position of your object in the world. So if you know the orientation, the position of the different object you want to place, you can use this position here to precisely place your object. You can also, in the view panel over here, you can switch to a top view and you can just place the object using those different views over here. So those views are really meant to be used as a placing tool. There is no shadow, the rendering. It's not meant to be a render. It's really a placing tool. So you can place your light using this view, for example. Switching back to the trailer.
Next question. Hello, joined late, so apology if you've said this already. Is it possible to use 360-degree panorama backgrounds into your renders?
So it's not possible natively inside Twinmotion, but one of our users recently created a 360 dome where you can just change the texture on it and apply different 360 panoramic view. So if you just go either to the Twinmotion user group, or you can also go to the blog on the Twinmotion website. We created an article on how to create and how to use those 360 background. So it's possible, but not natively. You will need to check this article on the blog on how we created this.
Okay, next question from Manuel is what OS Twinmotion is what?
In one OS, Twinmotion runs better.
Yeah.
So Twinmotion use mostly the graphic card. So you just need a good GPU. For this presentation, I was running on Quadro P5000. So it's a really good one. It's not one of the best on the market. But it's not mandatory to have a professional Quadro type of card, which are quite expensive. Twinmotion works also perfectly with the GTX series of gaming graphic card. Actually, Twinmotion is built on the Unreal, which is a gaming real-time engine. We use the same technology, so the gaming graphic card is also perfect to run Twinmotion. So yeah, the GTX series is perfect for that.
Does Beammotion work on iPad?
So no, not at all. The Beammotion needs the same configuration, the same graphic card to run Twinmotion, because it needs to run everything high quality. It's not like an image or a video that you just play using a media player. So no, it's not possible to run the Beammotion on an iPad. What you can do on an iPad is, for example, use a TwinLinker, the 360 panorama. So you'll be able to export whatever number of panorama you want, and you can switch from one panorama to another. So if you are running through an interior space, for example, you can switch from the living room to the bedroom to all the room inside your house, and by just clicking on a small hotspot directly in your tablet.
Yeah, if you're interested in knowing more about TwinLinker, just check our blog page. We've recently released a new blog about this topic. If we buy Twinmotion, what is the advantage of team version instead of full version? What is best for a team of designers working in one office?
So with the team version, there is two different things. First, it uses floating license, so you can install Twinmotion on all the computer in your agency. And let's say if you just buy 2 licenses, just 2 people will be able to run Twinmotion at the same time. So this is the first thing. Then the second thing is that the user library, the library of material and object that you can save, with the team version, you can save this library on the network. So you can use the same object for the project you are working on. So this is the 2 main differences between the team version and the regular version.
Okay, can I create a specific path for a camera?
Yeah, also the next part of the question is, can I position my camera in XYZ coordinates? So now, not really. You are positioning the camera same as I did with the image or the video I created. You place your manuala in the viewport. There is not a precise position for the camera right now.
Okay, next question. Do you have plans to make the top view of a wireframe? This will help me to place lights under fixtures without having to turn off the items like the ceiling.
Actually, you don't need to turn off the item like the ceiling. There is, let me actually switch back to Twinmotion. It will be best if I show you. Share screen. So now again, you should be able to see my screen. So when you are in this top view over here, we have what we called, let me switch. Actually, I don't have any interior of my project, but for example, here we have a bus. Let's pretend we just want to place an object inside my bus. Here you have a clipping tool that allows you to clip through the whole project. Let me actually switch, find where it is. So here I've just clipped through the roof of my bus, and now I can see the interior of my bus, and I can place whatever object I want directly inside my bus. And this clipping tool works in also all the different views. So you don't need to just hide you don't need to hide piece of your project. You just use the clipping tool to manually place your object where you want.
Does Twinmotion have PBR material?
Yes, of course. We have released an article on our blog talking about how to create PBR material from Twinmotion. So yeah, we use diffuse map, roughness, normal map, glow map, metallicness. So yeah, we are fully PBR compatible.
Next question: are licenses an annual subscription or is it a full license?
It's an annual subscription. No, it's not. It's a perpetual license. So once you buy Twinmotion, you have it for life. So yeah.
Okay, one last question. The clipping tool is cool, but clipping below the ceiling means your lights are no longer visible.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, it's a good point. I never thought about that. So it's a great idea. I will add this idea to the wish list. Thank you, Terry. We actually never thought about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I see your problem.
Yeah.
Thanks for the comment.
I think we're running out of questions. This is the last question from Terry, and
yeah, I think we can
about social media.
Yeah, I think we talk about everything for today. We hope that we like this presentation. If you have more questions, don't hesitate, as Tianxiao said, to join us on the Twinmotion user group. There is a great community here. Just if you want to share your project, but also if you have some questions like we answer over here, people are there to help each other.
Yeah, so I think that's all for today. We hope you enjoyed the presentation, and don't hesitate to use the same link to see the beginning if you missed it. And we wish you a nice evening or a nice day.
Yeah, nice day depending on where you are.
Bye bye everybody.
Thank you everyone. See you for the next one.